Good evening, everyone. This is the September 12th, 2024 meeting of the Brisbane Planning Commission. Will now come to order. May I please have a roll call?
Commissioner Funka?
Present.
Commissioner Gooding?
Present.
Commissioner Lau?
Present.
The record show Commissioners Patel and Sayasan are absent.
May I ask for a motion to adopt the agenda?
I will move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes with 3 ayes. Moving on to the consent calendar, I'll ask if there's any members of the public who would like to pull any item from the consent calendar. If they do, they can contact via the phone number that's listed or by Zoom. In the meantime, ask the commissioners if there's any item that they'd like to remove from the consent calendar. No. Okay.
Ten seconds. $30 has passed and no one's raising their hand.
All right, thank you. May I ask for a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented?
I will so move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. The motion passes with 3 ayes. Move on to oral communications. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission for any items that are not on tonight's agenda? Okay, and we'll also announce if there's any other items that and they want to communicate by either calling in or by Zoom. And that's for the next, how many seconds? 60 seconds. Thanks. While we're waiting, I can also acknowledge that the commission received 3 comments regarding agenda item C tonight.
You read through the chair, you also received some emails, so you have the paper recent. And
Yes, sorry,
emails.
received yes, 3
Some more.
emails regarding agenda item C tonight.
$10 seconds, and we do have someone with a raised hand.
Okay.
Elizabeth, you may address the commission. Elizabeth, you may address the commission if you have a comment. Oop, hands down. I guess that's a no. 1 minute has passed. There's no other hands raised.
All right. All right, thank you. We'll move on to old and new business. We can read. Can we bring up the first item, please? Public hearing. General Plan Amendment 2024-GPA-1, a citywide general plan amendment to the health and safety element to update the date of the most recently adopted local hazard mitigation plan, and finding that this project is categorically exempt from environment review under CEQA Guidelines Sections 15061B3.
Thank you, Chair. As introduced, this item is to amend the health and safety element of the general plan. The reason for the amendment is to change the year referencing the adoption of the city's Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, or LHMP. The safety element currently identifies the latest LHMP was adopted in 2015, but the city adopted the latest version in 2021. If we don't update the year reference within the safety elements, the city will not be eligible for federal funding under the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000, nor state funding under AB 2140 and the California Disaster Assistance Act. Staff recommends adoption of the attached resolution 2024 GPA-1, recommending that the City Council amend the health and safety element of the general plan to reflect the most recently adopted LHMP to comply with State Assembly Bill 2140. This concludes staff's presentations. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Commissioner, do we have any questions for the staff?
I do not. It seems very open and shut.
None here, thank you.
No further questions. And now, can I ask if there are any comments from the public?
Open the public hearing.
Yes, please. If the public wishes to make any comments, they can communicate by calling the number listed or by Zoom. And this will be for 2 minutes. Thank you.
One minute.
Well, through the chair, the time limit is up to the commission's discretion. So
Okay.
if you want to take action sooner, then you may do so.
Okay. I think we can close. It's been, it's almost done anyways, right?
45 seconds left
Okay.
if you want to wait or not.
We can end the session if, and can I ask for a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes with 3 ayes. We can begin the deliberations. Commissioners, do we have any comments regarding?
It seems like this is simply a necessary step to comply with state law to be in concert with what everybody else says about the issue. So I don't think there's a whole lot of dispute.
I'm trying very hard to think of a reason or you might vote not to adopt this resolution. So I would say, yeah, this is a very easy one.
The same. Then, otherwise, may I ask for a motion to approve the, as recommended?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as recommended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes with 3 ayes. Anyone may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council, except where specified otherwise. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk not later than 15 calendar days following the Planning Commission's decision. Exceptions to the 15-day filing period include the following. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk within 6 calendar days of the Planning Commission's action for use permits and variances, and 10 calendar days for tentative maps and advertising sign applications. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. For additional information, please contact the city clerk at 415-508-2110. And I think we can move to agenda item B. C, I'm sorry, agenda item C. And that's a public hearing on 277 San Francisco Avenue, use permit 2024-UP-2, NCRO-2 zoning district, use permit to allow for an approximately 1,838 square foot Montessori preschool on the ground floor of the existing mixed-use building at the corner of San Francisco Ave and San Bruno Avenue, and finding that this project is categorically exempt from environmental review under CEQA Guidelines Section 15301. Natalie Aguilar Picazo, applicant, 277 San Francisco LLC owner. Staff presentation, please.
Yes, thank you. The applicant requests approval of a use permit to allow Star City Montessori Preschool to operate at 277 San Francisco Ave. That's at the corner of San Francisco Ave and San Bruno Ave, and the building has frontage along both streets. The preschool will occupy just over 1,800 square feet of the vacant portion of the ground floor of this mixed-use building. The use would also result in the division of the building's remaining vacant commercial space into an approximately 350 square foot retail office flex space. The applicant has proposed that they'd sell education materials out of that space. Retail or office space is not subject to a use permit, but the preschool is. The preschool would serve an enrollment of up to 36 children, ages 3 to 5. Operating hours would be 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so for staff's report, I'll briefly go over the background of this building, the applicant's proposed use in a little bit more detail, and then findings for approval. So by way of background, in 2005, the Planning Commission granted a design permit and use permit for construction of this 3-story mixed-use building. Construction was completed 3 years later in 2008, and it included 15 1- and 2-bedroom residential condominiums on the 2nd and 3rd floors, plus the approximately 3,700 square foot commercial space on the ground floor. It also included a 30-space parking garage. The use permit and design permit allowed for future division of the commercial space to 3 units. 8 years after the building was completed, so in 2016, a tenant improvement was undertaken to establish an online beauty supply business within the eastern portion of the building that's adjacent to the parking garage. The use within that space also now includes a beauty salon. The remainder of the space has continued to be vacant since construction was completed 16 years ago. The proposal would include build-out of the entirety of that remaining vacant space. Regarding the parking garage, 28 of the 30 spaces are for the residential units. 1 space has been provided to the existing retail store, and the other would be available for the preschool for the director's use. The building was constructed with ground floor storefront, and district parking standards did not require off-street parking, although 2 spaces are provided in the garage for the commercial uses as mentioned. On another note on the background information, in the granting of a design permit and use permit, the commission included a condition of approval on commercial vehicle trips, and that equated to 193 trips per day for the preschool space. So next I'll outline just some details on the proposed use. The proposed preschool is intended to replace the applicant's existing home-based preschool. Prior to occupancy, the vacant portion of the building would undergo a tenant improvement through a building permit, and that'd be to separate the 2 spaces. The preschool would be improved with 4 restrooms. 3 would be for the children and then 1 for staff. It would also include an open floor plan kitchen. An outdoor bike rack would be installed on the property on the San Bruno Ave side of the building. And a student loading zone would also be constructed in the public right-of-way on the San Francisco Ave side of the building. This was per the city engineer's request to minimize potential impacts to on-street parking. There are no changes proposed to the exterior of the building. Students, parents, and staff may enter from one of 2 entrances, either San Francisco side or the front corner of the building. And there's an interior connection as well through the parking garage for the director's use. And that's that lobby area is shared with the residences above, but it would not be a student entry point. The preschool would have a maximum enrollment, as I mentioned, of 36 students, being 3 to 5, with up to 5 of those students being part-time. Staff would include 6 teachers plus the director. As I mentioned, operations would be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Student drop-offs and pickups primarily between 8 and 9 a.m. and then the end of the day, 4 to 5 p.m. And loading zone hours would be just during those drop-off and pickup times, otherwise be open parking for others. And that loading zone would be manned by 1 to 2 teachers during those times to escort the students to and from the school. And the applicant has indicated the school will prioritize enrollment of Brisbane children in its outreach. This is both to support the Brisbane community, but also to minimize motor vehicle trips with local trips. The installation of a bike rack is also planned, and that would be intended to further minimize vehicle trips. Additionally, the site is centrally located in Brisbane within a quarter mile of Samtrans bus stop for Route 292 at Bayshore Boulevard and approximately 100 feet from the nearest shuttle stop along Old County Road. The applicant has characterized Montessori curricula as quiet, activity-based learning to be well suited to this mixed-use building. For student playtime outdoors, the applicant has requested daily access to a portion of the lawn area of the community park, which is located directly across San Francisco Ave from this location. State requirements for preschools includes access to outdoor space, which would be met by this park access. But certification would be required prior to occupancy. And that use of the park has been vetted by the city engineer, Parks and Rec Department, as well as the city attorney's office, who have all indicated that the application may be approved, including that routine use, and that's subject to some conditions of approval. Travel to and from the park and student activities within the park would be closely controlled by the teachers. The play area within the park would be delineated by cones and would be typically would be in 3 groups through the day, with the third of the students at one time, so as not to be a large group, and it'd be 20 minutes per group. The use area within the park would be on the lawn, and the exact location may be moved from time to time at the as required by the city for maintenance and other activities. So finally, regarding findings for approval and the granting of a use permit, the commission is required to give consideration and due regard to the nature and condition of the adjacent uses and structures. Commission is to find that the use will not be detrimental to the health, safety, comfort, and general welfare of the persons residing or working in the neighborhood, nor to the property or improvements, nor to the general welfare of the city. The application would meet these requirements. The immediately adjacent uses were outlined in the agenda report. The nearest uses are within the building itself, with the beauty supply and salon on the same floor, and then residential condos above. Surrounding uses are single-family residence, plumber's office, hardware store, and the park across the street. And in brief, the use would be consistent with the character of the neighborhood. There's a couple items to consider regarding potential impacts to the neighborhood, one being noise, the other being traffic and street parking. Potential noise impacts may be considered for 2 primary activity types, one being the playtime, the other being during indoor learning activities. And again, the school would be 8 to 5, which is normal hours for this district. And the active playtime activities that would likely generate the most noise are proposed at the community park, consistent with other daily park activities. Given that the playtime will be outdoors, the indoor noise would be expected to be quieter. Learning activities of similar noise levels to retail operations that are common to this district for which the building has been constructed. So the noise within the building during the hours of operation is not expected to have a significant impact to the neighbors. In regards to parking and traffic, as I mentioned, this district does not require off-street parking for ground floor storefronts, which this facility is. Instead, on-street parking is recognized as meeting that parking requirement, although the one space is provided. In brief, it's compliant with the parking standards. However, to further evaluate the potential impacts to street parking, staff conducted parking counts on several days. Those were included in the staff's report. And the available parking ranged from 71 spaces as the highest available down to 7 spaces available. And that was during the afternoons on Thursdays when we also had the farmers market occupying the park. For reference, Institute of Transportation Engineers, or ITE, trip generation average estimate yields 88 trips per day for preschool use. And this estimate is less than half of the commission's imposed condition of 193 trips per day for the space. Based on the hours of operation, most of the vehicle trips would be expected to occur during that early first hour and then the end of the day. Brisbane's walkability, bike access, public transportation access, combined with a focus of serving local students, is expected to help to minimize vehicle trips and parking impacts. As demonstrated by the history of the building following its construction in 2008, the building has gone underutilized. Specifically to date, the portion of the building subject to the use permit, as I mentioned, has never been improved. So the proposed use would help serve a community need for childcare and early childhood education while activating and contributing to the life and vitality at the heart of Brisbane's downtown. Regarding the finding, the use would be a benefit to the general welfare of the city. And final note on the division of storefront areas. In addition to the use permit findings, the municipal code provides that storefront spaces should be 600 square feet or more, except that the Planning Commission may approve a lesser floor area if it finds that that area is as large as possible for the intended use, given size, configuration, and constraints of the structure and site. In this case, it'd be 350 square feet. It would allow for the applicant's intended sales of educational materials from the space and to use it as an office as well. The small size is reasonable for the proposed use and would allow for the preschool to be established. Finally, the application was provided to various city departments listed in the agenda report. Comments have been resolved or are provided as recommended conditions of approval and are included in the draft resolution. And given those conditions, none of the agencies have objections to the use. So in closing, staff recommends approval of use permit 2024 UP2 via adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Questions for the staff? Would you like to start, Commissioner?
I wonder, in one of the objections that I read, there was something which I don't think you referred to. It was a concern with the access through public space that would give people associated with the school access to, corridors potentially. And I just wondered, was that what the response to that concern is? That apparently the entry and egress of the place is through a hallway or something that is shared with the residents. Yeah, through the hallway, and I was just,
Gotcha. Through the lobby.
Yeah.
Yes, so that is not planned for student or parent entry points. It's essentially, it's a controlled entry for the residences above, and it also provides access to the parking garage behind. So I could see the director using that space, but otherwise not the students or other
very
teachers.
restricted group of
Right.
people, staff
Right,
associated
the
with
director
school.
essentially.
Then I had one other question. There was a concern raised about the number of kids in such a small space. I assume that that's just a formula, and that having 36 children in the planned space is just, it's fine for educational purposes. That's my
Right.
assumption. I just wanted to make sure that that's
Right,
the case.
they have to comply with state law in terms of the maximum is 36, but ultimately it has to be certified by the state for preschool and meet the space requirements that the state mandates.
Okay, and I don't want to, monopolize all the questions, so I just have one more, and then I'm sure we'll discuss it more. If it is approved, and I understand that the staff is recommending some conditions attached to the approval, is there something like a probationary period? Let's say some of the concerns that have been raised do come to pass, like it's just too noisy and the park is unsafe and it's overused. The parking burden is just intolerable. Let's say these things happen, despite the conditions that have been attached. Is there is there a way to measure that burden, and what's the recourse? Is it like after a year you could attach additional conditions or something like that? I wonder what in general is done.
So I don't know that I'd recommend a probationary period necessarily, but the conditions are what they are, and the description as well. And so if they are essentially in violation of that, it could come back to the commission for revocation procedures.
I see. Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
So let me ask a bit more about the access or ingress to the area. As I understand it, there are two potential ways to enter the proposed school space, one on the San Francisco side and one on the San Bruno side, correct? And the San Bruno side is mainly used currently by the owners and residents of the upstairs floors.
So there's actually three entry points. So you have San Francisco side, and then the front corner of the building, which would be accessed by teachers, parents, students. The San Bruno Ave side would be really not used by the school except possibly by the director, but I don't even, the director could speak, or applicant can speak to this more directly, but I would imagine they'd come into the garage through the garage door, and then there's an access point within the garage into that lobby space.
I don't recall, forgive me, do the current proposed conditions, could the conditions simply say that the school cannot use that lobby that I see in these communications residents are worried about access to?
I'd say that that's up to the commission if you feel the need to add that condition. I will say that I don't want to speak for the fire department in terms of in an emergency situation, they may go through any exit. But aside from that,
Sure, okay.
On that, if I may, sorry to steal that, but if there was any other business in this space, would they normally be given access to the lobby in the same way to access the parking space? Would that be a concern for any business that moved in? I assume it would be.
my understanding was that this was intended as a shared lobby space when they built the building.
So for residents as well as the business owners in the
Right,
bottom?
right.
Okay.
But other other easier entry options are available with the other two doors for this space, and then the other business that exists has its own door as well.
Yeah, okay.
I got a couple more. The traffic, number of visits per day, you cited 190 something.
Right.
And how do you get from 36 kids and 7 adults, how do we get to 193 visits per day? I'm just curious about the formula.
So the 193 goes back to the Planning Commission's condition of approval on this building. It's not what's expected for the preschool. We pulled a ITE estimate of 88, I believe it was. And given the factors of the local serving use that it is, the fact that it's got easy bike and pedestrian access at the center of Brisbane. You also, for those coming from out of town, you have a shuttle stop close by and bus 292 close by. The ITE estimate seemed pretty close to what one might expect.
I mean, there's a pretty big difference between 88 and 193, so I'm just curious about which one is the more reasonable one to expect, or
Just to clarify, the 193 was a condition imposed by the commission previously. It wasn't tied to any land use. It wasn't
thank you.
considering a land use
That's just- So
generation.
way back, that was a number that somebody agreed on way back
Yeah,
then.
they capped it at that number.
But this particular use is estimated by reliable sources as under 100.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Could this space potentially be a restaurant within
Yes.
our code?
Yes, that would be allowed by right without a use permit.
Could it be a bar or music venue?
It could be a bar with a use permit.
And they could play music?
Correct.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I had just a couple questions. Was there an assessment on the traffic during the drop-off hours from 8 to 9 and 4 to 5, and the impact, during that's peak, traffic time in the city, especially, there's limited ingress and egress from the city. There's only certain streets that we can get in and out. And so how's that assessed? And my second question was, how's that loading zone, or, the drop-off zone, how is that designated? Because it's pretty close to, on San Francisco Avenue, it's so close to that intersection there. So can that drop-off zone be moved, further down, or designated, further down the street, or, how is that chosen?
The two questions kind of go together, and when this when the application first came to the city, it went to the city engineer, and the city engineer essentially imposed, if you will say, or recommended that the condition of approval for the drop-off zone be included to help reduce parking impacts that would occur during those that first hour and the last hour of the day, because that's really when the parents are coming and going. And so he looked at that and suggested the condition. He wanted it away from the intersection of San Bruno Ave, and so it's further down towards the edge of the property, and his so that's really a location that he suggested to keep it.
Can we bring,
as conflict.
Is it possible to bring up that map of?
Got it. Sorry, I turned my mic off. I'll repeat that. So shaded in orange at the right-hand corner of the building is where the drop-off pickup area would be. And so it would allow for parking and off hours when drop-off pickup is not happening, but otherwise it would be restricted.
So normally those are regular parking spots, and then it's coned off
Correct.
between 8 and 9 and 4 and 5. What happens when there's a car that's parked there at 7:59 a.m. or cars?
Good question. I would say it would be up to the police department whether it would need to be towed out of there. That's something that's worth.
So it's not like a yellow zone or a white zone or anything. It's regular parking spots, but it's known, somehow communicated to the area that they're specially designated, during these timeframes.
So the specific design would be subject to a building permit. Both the city engineer would review as well as the building department because it would need to meet ADA requirements. I would imagine that this would be a striped out location with signage right there that clearly states loading zone between such and such hours so that people are well aware and it's not just a normal parking space.
And that appears to be starting around like parking spot 5, and it goes for what, maybe 2 or 3 parking spots?
There are 2 parking spots striped out there. So it would take up 2 parking spots during those 2 hours of the weekdays.
So at the most, it'd probably be able to accommodate 2 drop-offs at that current time.
Right,
Well, at the very most, that's, if they're
right,
can navigate in and out
correct.
efficiently. Okay. Thank you.
One more question. I don't think this was in the presentation. Are the units occupied by owners upstairs? Do they have designated parking areas in a parking garage? And if so, do we know how many? 1 per unit, 2 per unit?
There is a total of 15 units and 28 parking spaces. And the units are 1 and 2 bedroom. So they're split up. And I don't have the exact number of proportions of which ones get what, but yes.
Thank you.
One follow-up question for me. So would it be up to the city engineer, or would it be up to the planning commission? Like if there was a suggestion or recommendation that perhaps that drop-off zone be expanded or moved, a little bit further down the street or something like that, would that have to come from the planning commission for that suggestion to the city engineer?
I would suggest that it be a suggestion from the planning commission to the city engineer rather than, because it's really his area of expertise. And so if you have a concern that you want to raise, I would bring that as a recommendation or suggestion to him.
Thank you.
I just have one more question about, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about some precedent for a school using public parks. I imagine it's not that uncommon because schools in downtown areas must not sometimes have it. Is there a limit to the size of school after which it must have access to an outdoor space? I think that was mentioned somewhere. And how common is it? Is this a pretty normal arrangement?
So the applicant actually provided some examples of other arrangements in other nearby cities where they do use city parks, and I think it's probably especially more common in very densely urbanized areas where you may not have the outdoor space to accommodate the student population, but it is a requirement of the state that the kids have access to outdoor space.
Okay, all right.
No further questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to open a public hearing. And I don't know if the applicant is here, if they wish to speak to the planning commission.
Okay, I'll begin with the PowerPoint. We have a PowerPoint.
So we're pulling up a PowerPoint for. Where is it here?
Welcome and thank you.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Aguilar Picazo, and I'm the founder and educator of Star City Montessori in Brisbane. I'm here to propose my project to expand Star City Montessori at 277 San Francisco Avenue, Unit B, Brisbane. To give you an insight into my education, I graduated from Mills College with a bachelor's degree in child development and a master's degree in education, specializing in early childhood education. I also obtained an early childhood Montessori credential from the Montessori Teacher Education Center in Sunnyvale, California. I established a preschool in 2019 in my home to share my Montessori passion with the community and give my children a strong educational foundation. My program follows a traditional Montessori philosophy of education, offering students a hands-on, child-centered learning environment where they can progress at their own pace. Guided by an early childhood credentialed Montessori teacher, children participate in independent and group activities, including practical life, sensorial experiences, language, math, geography, zoology, and botany. The Montessori method aims to open children's minds towards academic development and help them reach their highest potential as individuals. It emphasizes independence and provides children with environment, materials, and guidance to learn to think and act for themselves. In addition to the Montessori curriculum, we design units of studies that foster creativity, curiosity, empowering children to ask questions, explore, investigate, and think independently while developing essential skills. Each month, our study revolves around a specific theme. For example, some units include farm animals, exploring the parts of a pumpkin, all about me, the human body, nutrition, and cooking. Students learn grace and courtesy. As children grow, they learn by imitating the actions of adults. Teaching them about respect and kindness helps them become more amicable individuals. It is crucial to instill in them the principles of kindness and respect, as these will have a lasting impact on the people they meet. Through the Kimochi's curriculum, the children develop compassion and polite manners and learn to manage and regulate emotions using various calming tools for the mind. The students learn music and movement. The students have a weekly music class with Miss Liz, a Montessori music teacher, and a weekly dance class with Miss Swetha, a trained dance teacher. Music and movement encourage cognitive development, develop fine and gross motor skills, and strengthen social and language skills. Music teaches children to listen with purpose. The different notes and sequential nature of music and songs help children understand sequences, which in turn improves their problem-solving ability. Expanding Star City Montessori in Brisbane and its impact on the Brisbane community. With this proposed project, the preschool will be open year-round, operating Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Children accepted into the program must be fully potty trained between 3 and 5 years old. Without the expansion, Star City Montessori is a home-based preschool licensed for 12 students. The program has been running for 5 years and currently has a wait list for the years 2025 to 2027. 95% of the families on the waiting list are from Brisbane. Due to the limited capacity of 12 students, many Brisbane families interested in enrolling their children at the school cannot do so because of the licensing restrictions for large family childcare homes. According to the 2022 Childcare Needs Assessment, San Mateo County needs 6,897 spaces for infants and preschoolers. The childcare space shortage significantly impacts children, families, and community well-being. Due to Star City Montessori's limited capacity, many Brisbane families drive 10 to 15 minutes out of town to find an academic-based preschool for their children. However, expanding Star City Montessori in Brisbane will be a licensed center-based preschool accommodating 36 students. Parents can choose between part-time schedules 8 a.m. to 12:30, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., limited to 5 spaces, and a full-time schedule 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Expanding our program will accommodate more families in town, allowing them to remain close to home, support local businesses, and foster community relationships. The program will give priority to families in Brisbane. Our students will utilize the Brisbane Park for outdoor activities, but they will be limited to a designated area on the grass, and play structures will be off limits. Thank you for your time, and I leave with this quote, "Never help a child with the task at which he feels he can succeed," by Maria Montessori. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can take comments. I'm sorry. Yes, start the public. Start the public hearing forum. And if anybody would like to call in, they can do so by calling the number listed or by contacting through Zoom. And that's for next 2 minutes. In the meantime, just wanted to note that received, once again, 3 communications regarding this permit. 2 are in support and 1 was against.
Through the chair, you have some slips there if you wanted to. Well, we wait. If anybody wants to call in,
should we wait to call in or before
pull
we can
people
start? So here's some for if anybody wants to come and speak. And there's a random, just random order is Liz Hannon.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity. My name is Liz Hannon. For 25 years, I worked side by side with Maureen Boland and the staff at Lippman Middle School to produce and direct the annual musical. Some of the students I directed are in this room, and maybe some of the parents of those students are in this room. We can talk after the meeting. Now I have the privilege and the pleasure of teaching music at Star City Montessori Preschool. Natalie Picazo is a dedicated educator whose vision is to provide a nurturing foundation for the development of young children based on the method and philosophy of world-famous, brilliant visionary Maria Montessori. The environment of emotional respect, the solid academic foundation, and the practice of grace and courtesy at Star City all reflect Miss Natalie's education, dedication, passion, and professionalism. When young couples look for a place to raise a family, they look to the warmth and foundation of the community and to the schools. Brisbane is a unique community. Many of its residents are multi-generational. Many of the businesses are privately owned. Star City Montessori is privately owned by a member of a long-standing and respected Brisbane family. Brisbane is small, quaint, and charming, and the schools are excellent. Children grow up here knowing the people in their neighborhood, to quote Mr. Rogers. When they study various professions, they personally know the people in those jobs. and they know them by name. Star City Montessori provides a strong foundation for the pyramid of a child's education. 95% of its students are from Brisbane, and 95% of the students at Star City continue their education in Brisbane schools. These children enter kindergarten as a group of children who have played, explored, and grown together. They are bonded in friendship and support for one another. What a safety net that is. And wouldn't we like that for ourselves when we go to a new environment? Children from Star City Montessori share emotional learning, programs of strong academics, lessons in practical life, and the magic of science and nature. Star City provides transitional kindergarten, so children do not have to go to a bigger school at young and precious ages. Right now, Star City is licensed for 12 students. Approximately 10 of them go to Brisbane Elementary School for kindergarten and further education on up to Lippman. Granting Miss Natalie the opportunity to expand her school to welcome 36 students means that approximately 34 students will enter Brisbane Elementary School, already a small community of friends with similar foundations and practices. And a large number of parents will become a small community of friends now ready to enter the larger community of families to continue making Brisbane a unique city that remains small, quaint, and charming, while at the same time united and strong. I strongly encourage the members of this committee to approve Miss Natalie's proposal to expand her school, which will be an asset to the community of Brisbane. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hannon. Next is Nicole Hamilton.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nicole Hamilton. I live on Butterweed Lane, up on the ridge there, and I've been a Brisbane resident for some time. By profession, I'm a consultant. I'm a partner in a consulting firm in South San Francisco. My background is in science. I have a PhD in immunology. I am a critical judge. That's what I do for a living. That's what I learned how to do in my PhD training. And so I bring that lens to this conversation when I tell you that Natalie and her husband, Junior, are the real deal. If you know them at all, you know that they are, as Liz said, longtime Brisbane residents. They are the kind of people who enrich our community. They are the kind of people who are here for the purpose of the community. There are a lot of logistics discussed tonight about how this preschool might work, and I have complete and utter faith that they are the type of people who are going to make sure that those logistics work for the preschool as much as they work for the community. And I'm also here to say that I had my child in Natalie's school from 2020 to 2022. And all of the words that she said tonight and all of the words that Liz said tonight sound nice, and they're actually true. They're actually the real thing. Her preschool is extraordinary. I had my child in a daycare prior to being with Miss Natalie at her preschool. And frankly, by the time he reached the age of 3, he was facing some behavioral issues. Things were challenging at home. I was like, what's happening? Should I, be parenting better? Do I need to be more disciplined? What needs to happen here? And I met Natalie in the park, and I said, this woman seems like the real deal. I'm going to go on a ledge here, and I'm going to try something new and try out this preschool and see what happens. And it was like magic happened in my household. He came home, and his behavior was just so much better at home because of the way that her philosophy works and the way that she works with students and how she teaches them and works with them, and the whole bit. And lest it just be me, we had another family follow us from the same daycare and put two of their three children in to school with Miss Natalie, and said the exact same thing. Like, holy cow, we wished we'd followed you sooner. Our child is so much easier at home than she was when we were in the daycare setting. And so, when we talk about things tonight, like this is a tremendous resource for the community and for the families of Brisbane. I want you to know it really truly is a tremendous resource for the families of Brisbane. And for, these small children and their emotional awareness and their education and all of these pieces of it. And there was one other point I wanted to make there, but I don't quite remember what it was. So I'll leave it at that. I think I strongly recommend and wholeheartedly support their application. And, as I said before, I really think that Natalie and her team will ensure that this preschool works for the community and that it'll be what we hope it will be for the community and what it has been for all of us as parents who have had our children with her. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabriela Monsalvo.
Good evening, Commission. Brisbane resident over 10 years. I have 2 small children, and I'm here to support the application for Star City Montessori, or as many of us call it, Miss Natalie's preschool. My daughter is a BES second grader right now, and I wanted to underscore what Ms. Liz said about the tremendous value of having a center-based preschool here in Brisbane is for the community. This is a remarkable opportunity. We have Silver Spot, but what a tremendous opportunity for working families to have full-time care for our children to grow together and to have communities going into Panorama, into BES, and having that strength and that net worth. I won't reiterate everything that has been said already, but I will underscore that, I've been in Brisbane long enough to see that vacant area for quite a bit of time. We walk regularly we used to walk regularly to Miss Natalie's preschool and to BES. And I've always wondered, what are we going to do with that space? And this just seems like a tremendous opportunity for our visitors, our residents, when they come into downtown Brisbane. One of the first things they see is that beautiful Central Park. And wouldn't it be nice to also have a preschool welcoming them to our town? So I'll leave it at that. I'd like to see my youngest daughter attend that center-based preschool when she's ready to join in a couple of years. So thank you.
Thank you. Charlene Nason.
I'm a resident for, I think it's now 7 years in the 1 San Bruno building. And I just want to make a couple of points. One being, nobody's putting down Natalie's school or her credentials or anything like that. I moved to Brisbane because I wanted from the city, because I wanted a quiet place to retire. And it's turned out that that is not the case generally. Between activities in the park constantly, which I was not apprised of, and bouncy houses all weekend long in the park, farmers market where they are supposed to be there from 3 to 7. They get there about 12:30, start setting up, and they're not out of there till 8:30. My windows face the park. I know what's going on there. I know what's going on in terms of parking. One of the entrances to our parking garage is right underneath my windows. And I also know that children who go to preschool are dropped off at various times because various events, crises, and so forth occur in the family's life, and they can't get the kid there on time. So we're not really talking about just, 36 kids all being dropped off at one time and then all being picked up at one time. And I believe Natalie even said that at some point, that some kids go half days in her presentation today. I also am aware that 3 to 5-year-olds are extremely noisy. When they're in the park, they basically spend the time screaming and running around, and that's with adult supervision with them. So I'm really reluctant to support this. I also want to say I'm one of the few people that's in the building every day because I am retired, and we have a lot of deliveries in our lobby area all is based on a telephone system where somebody delivering a package has to get the permission they get buzzed in by the person whose package it is. And this is not an area you want to have your kids in at any age. So if it should come to pass that does happen, kids should not be allowed, teachers should not be allowed in the lobby area or the garage. It's dangerous. There are constantly cars going in and out. It takes a little bit of time for the garage gate to close. You know, somebody could easily get stuck and damaged. So that's a concern. I'm mainly concerned that I moved here for peace and quiet, and I will have to move if this school goes in down there, because I know 36 kids make a lot of noise, and I'm disappointed in that because I really did expect that this would be the last time I would move somewhere. I grew up in New York City. It's noisier in Brisbane sometimes than I ever experienced in New York. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Robinson, also.
Good evening, Commission. I appreciate you hearing my comments tonight. My name is Doug Robinson. I also reside at 1 San Bruno Avenue. And similar to Charlene, I wouldn't discount anything that Nicole said. She obviously knows what she's doing. She has a great presentation. I believe in everything that she presented to you as far as education of the children and how they'd be treated at her school. My concerns are a few things, some of which you've already addressed. One is parking. So I know that in the mornings, we've already experienced some clogging there when the school bus picked up the high school students and took them to Terra Nova. So we've experienced that before. It's the reason we added the gates, because when we first moved into the building in 2008, it was used for a turnaround. So during the high school pickup and drop off, we'd have cars through our garage, which is the reason we put the gates in initially. So there's that concern about parking. I don't know that that's all been addressed necessarily, especially on Thursday evenings when we have the farmers market. You guys have thought about that already, so I appreciate your attention to those matters. The second concern is that I know that Nicole's probably responsible just by hearing her comments tonight, but I would be concerned about any kids possibly getting into that lobby area for two reasons. If they do, they have access to the elevator, which will take them to the 3rd floor. If they get up to that 3rd floor unattended, there's only a short stub wall, so I would be concerned about them being unsupervised in that common use deck area, because it is 2 stories up, so we could have catastrophe there. Also, the stairs in that building, if they got access to those, aren't really conducive to toddler age or 3 to 5-year-olds being safe in that area. There's standard building codes that have been enforced, like railings and no spaces in the railings, but if they were to get to the top of those stairs and tumble down, and there's stairs on the backside they could access as well that lead to a breezeway, I would be concerned about their safety in that regard. The other impact is that I wonder what our insurance cost for the HOA and our community would be with the school going in there, and if we can address that impact, because if in a couple of months when we go through an appraisal for our current insurance company for our annual policy, I'm concerned that that would be an exorbitant increase with the kids being there. Again, just for their safety, I'm not against the betterment of community and having a school like this going in Brisbane. I think maybe on the busiest intersection with some of these other concerns we want to look at. And then my final concern would be that right now we have a manageable garbage situation with the residents that have been there and the beauty salon. And we've been sharing that area. In our CCNRs, it actually says that those 2 commercial spaces need separate garbage collection. But because of our relationship over the past few years with these businesses, we've made special accommodations for that. I think that this would impact that as well. And then finally, it's probably an internal issue for us, but the water isn't metered to that commercial space. So I would be concerned that additional impact to the HOA and cost would need to be addressed. And it's probably something that the HOA needs to talk about, but I wanted to at least make you aware of all of the issues that I have. Again, I'm not against a school going in and the betterment of Brisbane. I've been here since 2008 when that building, I was the first person to occupy. So I'm really for the betterment of the community. I just want to make sure we're really addressing these safety issues and concerns that could cost the residents a lot of money. I also wonder, because I may not have purchased a condo there if there was a school downstairs. You brought up a bar. That would probably be another thing that would keep me from moving into that building. So I just want to be frank and honest in those assessments. I appreciate you listening to me this evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. Krista Katusha. Thanks.
Good evening, and thank you to all the parents. I want to say this one thing. I'm all about the school, just this is not the right location. That's my biggest concern. Thank you. I appreciate your time this evening. As some of the others have said, now you've also addressed, I'm just going to kind of highlight the ticker points on my notes as well. And I invite you to come in the building. We're happy to show you around so we can show you hands-on what our concerns are. I understand the information that you have at hand. I've lived there for 16 years. So I've lived through a lot of the challenges. Doug's my husband. We were the first ones to physically move in the building. Some of my concerns. So we have the rolling gates, right? We have the rolling garage doors that do take a little bit of time to close. You know how fast kids are. 3 to 5-year-olds are lickety split. Easy access into the garage. Not only is there danger within the garage, the doors into the building from access from the garage are fire doors. So they're not locked. So all they have to do is open the door. They're in the building. They're going to have access to those stairs. They're going to have open access to any packages we have delivered. When it rains, that lobby area was unfortunately not well designed or constructed. It's slippery. We've had challenges as adults not slipping there. I can tell you we haven't had kids living in the building in 16 years. It's not conducive to kids having access within the building. Excuse me. I am worried about the traffic and parking. We are on the San Bruno side, so we know what that traffic looks like. Even with the new the snazzy cones, people are still running the stop sign coming off of Visitation. They're still not looking over to San Bruno. There's a lot of traffic in the morning between the hardware store, residents coming and going. We still have a lot of residents that work from home as well. I understand what you think, that the sound doesn't travel. The sound travels from those commercial units. So again, that noise from people working from home, that's a concern. Using the public area, walking those kids across, I think, here's the thing. I follow Brisbane online on Facebook. I saw that there was a creeper in town just yesterday that was brought to the attention of the police, somebody who was trying to pick up kids. That's an easy access point from outside our building to zip onto the freeways going north or south. And I worry about, I was talking to my sister has children, and I said, you know where I live, what would you think? Would you sign the girls up to go somewhere like here? And she said no, because there's no dedicated play space. There's no protected, it's not fenced in. It's easy for kids to run into any of those busy streets. And we all know people coming in and out of town are not very careful about people walking in the crosswalks. As Doug said, also the building liability, I am concerned about that. I know we wouldn't have purchased. If you've been here long enough, I actually worked at ATP up off of South Hill back in the well, I don't want to age myself, but in the early 2000s. So that's what brought me to Brisbane. I thought it was such a cool, funky, cute little community. I guess those are really my high points. I guess something to consider, put yourself in our shoes. Would you purchase a home above a school of 3 to 5-year-olds, 8 to 5, and what that traffic will bring and what the noise will bring? Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. James Frisk. That's the left. Allison Crossley.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Allison Crossley. I'm a Brisbane resident, and my daughter attends Star City Montessori. My husband and I couldn't be happier with the very high-quality education by Natalie Picazo and her other teachers. As has been said many times today, Natalie runs an incredible school, and our daughter has really blossomed since she's been to school there. I will say that not only is Natalie Picazo an incredible educator, but Star City is an incredibly well-run organization. The communities, the communications, the scheduling, it is run so well, and clearly all policies and rules are being followed very carefully. And Natalie Picazo is very sensitive to rules and to the policies that she must adhere to as running a preschool. Prior to our joining Star City Montessori, we didn't have a place at a preschool in Brisbane where we live, and we commuted to South City, to a school in South City while we were on the waiting list. So I know many people are on the waiting list and eager to join Star City Montessori as well. Expanding Star City will allow more families in Brisbane to benefit, and I can't think, this cannot be underestimated how difficult it is to find high quality education for preschoolers in San Mateo County and in Brisbane as well. And this will be an immediate benefit to the town. But also robust research shows that high quality early childhood education has long-term impacts on children. And given that this Montessori is serving predominantly Brisbane families, I think it will also have impact long into the future of the community of Brisbane. Thank you for your consideration.
Through the chair, we have a James Frisk online. You had a comment card from them?
Yes.
Would you like?
Should we address him now or after these other three?
Up to you.
Why don't we finish these and then I'll have him, he can make his comments. Rika Zemplini? Sorry.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Rika Zemplini. I live in Brisbane. I have a background in education. I started an education nonprofit focused on hands-on, children-focused programs and development. So I'm all in support of the Montessori method. And from the speakers we have seen, it's very clear that Miss Natalie's has the best background to continue expanding this preschool for Brisbane and for Brisbane's children, for all of their futures. And it seems to be that most people in this room are in agreement about that, and that's not a question. However, to me, as someone who also has a background in economics and a PhD in all of that, the question is really, is this the place for expanding the preschool? We all talk about high quality education, but can this location provide that high quality education? I am worried about that, to be honest. I don't have kids yet, but if I had them, I don't think I would want to bring them to this specific location for two main concerns. One, as you all agree, this is the busiest intersection in town. And sure, there will be adults supervising the children, but there will be also many opportunities for mistakes to happen. And 3 to 5 year olds, they don't always follow rules. They get distracted, they run around, and the building has multiple exits. Sure, there will be bells on the doors, but by the time the bell rings, the kid could be hit by a car because there are literally 5 roads they could be run onto, not even to mention the garage exit. And the fact that with the hardware store across, there will be many big vehicles, like all the pickup trucks, those are the #1 killers of children because you literally can't see what's in front of you for many feet. It could literally be nobody's at fault and it just happens. And I would be really worried about that being a possibility with 36 children and the biggest intersection in town. Secondly, my other concern is we all talk about quality education, but what does that really mean for 3 to 5 year olds? Obviously, all the Montessori methods are great, but how about access to outdoor space, especially for 3 to 5 year olds? They have a lot of energy, they need to run around. Sure, the space would meet the mandated at least 35 square feet per children requirement, but that one comes with also requiring at least 75 square feet per kid outdoor space, which, you know, in normal settings, that would be in a smaller building and a larger outdoor space. Sure, there's a park, which is a big outdoor space, but based on the proposal, they would only allow kids to play in the park for 20 minutes at a time, only twice per day. So every 4 hours, your child would be playing for 20 minutes outside, and the rest of the time they would be inside. Like, would you want to have your kid in a preschool like that? I wouldn't, although I don't have kids yet. But so those would be, I think, really big concern, and I think that's where it ties into the concerns of the people living in the building, of the noise. Like, sure, if the kids could be running around outside most of the day, I could see them playing nicely, quietly indoors. But if you spend like 3 hours and 40 minutes indoors and then 20 minutes outside, I think those kids would get pretty noisy. At least I would if I was a kid. So that's where I think the noise assessment might not be valid, and I would consider the commission to reconsider that from the standpoint of the fitting with the current noise environment. Because again, like, you would have a lot of energy, and I think it would generate more noise than just based on that assumption. And to add to that, a couple of smaller issues like the planned loading zone. I worry that it's on the wrong side of the entrance to the garage. There would be, again, many more opportunities for kids to get hit. But if you move it closer to the intersection, that's again an issue. So really just like one more thing to add to the list of issues with like, why really this space? Like, we all agree we need a bigger Montessori setup, but the location is really concerning for the safety and the well-being of the kids and for like really being able to provide a quality education. And as one more side note, as someone who did an econ PhD on small and medium businesses and their growth, I am also concerned about the idea of suddenly tripling the size of a preschool. Based on all the stories that we heard, Miss Natalie is very competent and good at her job, but I would still be concerned about suddenly tripling the size. Something that worked really well with 12 kids might not work so well in a much tripled size, especially when you suddenly don't have access to a backyard and you have to shuttle kids back and forth. You have to deal with the dogs running around in the park, and God knows what else happening there. And just as a side note, the state also requires that children have access to outdoor space that is safe and provides shade and is free from distractions and other activities. I am not sure how the public park would provide that. And it's kind of this issue where, like, sure, the park could provide that, but it would come at the expense of everybody else's use of the park. And would that really be fair? And how much would this private preschool be required to pay when otherwise private kid parties are required to pay, but the private preschool is not required to pay? So how would that really be fair for like the older kids who don't go to the preschool, for example, or don't go there anymore? And so that's one more issue to add to that. And on top of that, there's a farmer's market that we all love that happens most of the day, Thursday afternoon. I don't see how the kids would be safe or had a good time playing in the park while the farmer's market is going on. So now you say there's just like no playtime outside on Thursday. That also doesn't sound very good. So I just really wish that this dialogue could continue and find a better location to really create something that would really meet all the boxes of a high quality preschool and could really be sustainable on the long term. Maybe not expand to 36 right away, but start with 24 and then consider, like growing in a more sustainable and happy way without possible kids getting hit by cars in the process. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Is your mic on?
If you'd like to speak, you have to write down, note. Hi, Ms. Williams, thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Brianna Williams. I had one child, Misha, who spent 2 years in Natalie's school. And I really appreciate the city, the people here's concern for the children. It really sounds like they're worried about kids being safe and not getting hurt or injured in a space like a building with an elevator, close to traffic, things like that. So I do appreciate everyone's concern on that front. I have 3 children. I have 2 boys and my daughter, and my kids are loud. My kids are not the kids that you would want at a school in your building. I 100% tell you that. I wish they didn't live with me half the time because they're just so loud. You can hear them 2 doors down. Natalie's school, every time I picked up my child, who is also very loud, is quiet. It baffled me every time I would show up. The kids are quiet. There is something about the magic, as we've already heard, of Natalie's school and her ability to communicate with the children that creates this like reverent atmosphere where the kids are respectful and kind and not loud. And I don't know how she does that. I wish she could teach me because my children don't have volume controls. But as you can see, she's been sitting here for over an hour, and I have not heard any of the children. There's been several children from Natalie's school here, and they have been very quiet. And I think that speaks volumes to how she manages her school, that it is not a school where kids are running around reckless. And I can tell you, my boys went to Glenridge Cooperative Preschool in San Francisco, which is in the middle of a canyon, Glen Canyon in the city, which is this outdoor environment that is amazing and has its own sense of magic. And there was a lot of safety concerns there, and those kids are loud and crazy and rambunctious because it's a play-based preschool. It's a play-based preschool, so the kids are playing all the time. Natalie's school is not a play-based preschool. It is a Montessori school, and they do play. They learn through play, but it is structured, and it is more academic, even though they don't realize they're doing academics. They're like, you know, using tweezers to transfer cotton balls from bowl to bowl, but it's actually very academic, and it teaches them muscle control of their fingers, which is very important for writing when they go to school. But my point is that there are a lot of different types of parents, and there are some parents who want their kids out in a magical canyon so they can be loud and be in nature, and then there are some parents who want their kids to walk to school with their neighbor and build community and spend all day with their neighbor and do outside time for 20 minutes here and there, and then outside time with family on the weekends or wherever. They go for hikes. There's parents of all types, and there is a cooperative preschool here in Brisbane, and I think it would just really complement this amazing city of Brisbane and the intense community that is built here for Natalie to have a school in such a prominent location that everyone can see it, that everyone is aware of it. Where she is now, you wouldn't know that that's a preschool, but now you have this gem of a school on a prominent corner where everyone will know this is what Brisbane is about: building community, raising respectful children who have empathy for one another. These are all things my daughter learned at Miss Natalie's school. I also want to mention the drop-off and pickup time. I know it sounds crazy that 36 kids are going to be dropped off and picked up, but it takes 2 minutes. It takes 2 minutes per kid because they want to go to school. They don't want to run in a parking lot. They don't want to go in an elevator. They're so excited to go to school. And Natalie is pretty strict about, you need to be there at 9 o'clock. She is like, okay, let me know, but if you're going to be late, you have to come like 45 minutes late because she runs a circle time. There is discipline in her methods. And so I just wanted to mention that the drop-off time is quick, pickup time is quick. And again, I imagine a lot of families will be walking because half the families already walk to where she is now. I also want to say that I really do appreciate, it sounds like there's a lot of concern for the health of her business, if it's going to last, if there's, if kids are going to get hurt or if she expands too quickly, things like that. So I do appreciate that concern. But I feel like we should let people who have children make the decision on whether or not they attend the school and not people who are trying to avoid having children because they're loud and crazy. So I also wanted to say about the use of the park. There's 36 kids, and I don't know, I didn't read the exact day of plan for the day, but if it is 20 minutes or 30 minutes, that's a very short time, and it's a huge park. And on Saturday, there's like 3 birthday parties, each with like 75 kids there. So I think 36 kids is a totally reasonable amount of children to be at the park. Yes, I think that's it. I just want to reiterate that Natalie runs a very respectful school, that the kids are very well behaved. Thank you.
Thank you. Miriam Moody.
Hi, my name is Miriam. I'm here to speak in support of the proposal. I've been a Star City Montessori parent for the past 4 years, and I've had 2 children graduate from the school, most recently last month, which is sad for me. It has been far and above better than any other school my children have attended before or since. My oldest is 8, so we've been to a lot of schools. Natalie is a phenomenal teacher, and she offers an extremely high-quality education. To expand the school to more students would be an unequivocal benefit to Brisbane families. With regard to the concerns brought up, I can understand that the neighbors have appreciated having the space be vacant for more than a decade. It seems like no matter what business went into this space, the similar concerns would arise. And I'd actually argue that this is a reason to embrace Miss Natalie's proposal now, because what residents don't know is how incredibly disciplined Miss Natalie is, how structured her school is, and how courteous her students are. I have 3 kids, and I'm a former teacher, so I've been inside of a lot of classrooms. And after spending 4 years picking my kids up from Star City Montessori, I can say it is eerily quiet in there. So whatever vision folks might have of what 3 to 5-year-olds are like, I would just urge you to visit Miss Natalie's school and see for yourself what a Montessori preschool can be like. Finally, I'll just say children are a really vital part of our society, and early childhood education has a huge impact on everyone's future. So to me, this seems like an amazing opportunity for a local business to grow in a way that benefits not only current Brisbane families, but also future generations.
Thank you. Let's go with yes, I'm sorry. Ms. Fernandez, thank you.
Hi, so I'm Amy Fernandez. I've had 2 children go to Star City Montessori. My son went there a few years ago. He's now in the 1st grade. And I want to say, as a full-time working parent, finding full-time childcare for the ages between 3 and 5 is incredibly challenging in this area. My son in particular is very high energy, as he's often described, and we went through multiple preschools, not within Brisbane, outside of Brisbane, just trying to find the right fit. And it was difficult. I mean, there were a lot of environments where he simply was just not happy. And then we won the lottery and we got this spot at Star City Montessori. And Natalie's approach, the Montessori approach, was incredible, I'll echo what other parents have already said, which is, he was just able to be himself and be that energetic and happy kid, but also able to sit in a circle and pay attention, which was a huge deal. And, so she just has this amazing approach that really works and gives me, as a full-time working parent, a lot of comfort that I don't have to worry about where my kids are all day. There are a lot of full-time working parents in Brisbane. I also want to say that I have full faith in Natalie and the staff's ability to keep these children safe. The current school has some stairs down to the back to the play area. They go up and down those steep stairs every day. Everyone is fine, everyone is safe. I would have 0 concerns about the facility. The door locks, have childproofing, so kids can't run out the door in the current building. There are products out there to, I think, address these concerns very well. And I also just want to talk about the impact to not just my kids, but our family. So we've lived in Brisbane for 5 years, and I think this Star City Montessori has largely defined our experience in Brisbane. And so it's given us a real sense of community that was sort of unexpected, to be honest. And even after my son has, he's no longer at Star City and all these kids go to all these different schools for kindergarten and 1st grade and beyond, we still run into these families. We still hang out with these families that we met through Star City. We see each other at AYSO soccer, at play dates, at the farmer's market, at the park, getting sushi at Ichika. Someone over here knows who I'm talking about, and at Halloween. So it really creates a community. And I just want to say we have a real opportunity to make a positive impact in our city and to make a positive impact to Brisbane and to working parents in particular to give more families the opportunity to be a part of this community. And I really hope that you allow more people to be part of this special place by approving this proposal, because I think not doing so would really be a travesty. Thanks.
Thank you. It's kind of the last minute. Mr. Sorry, I can't read your writing. Mr. Mao?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for showing up today. My name is Enmin Mao. I'm a resident at 1 San Bruno Avenue. I have been here for 3 years. I totally agree. Natalie is a great educator, and I can tell that from the parents' feedback. That's great, and I fully support the preschool in Brisbane area. But one thing I really strongly oppose is it's not the right location. This location, because based on Ken's speech about this, like a different part, they will take measures to consider every single aspect of that property. But there's one thing is you do not live in that area. I live in that area. I know how dangerous it is, especially outside the property, the traffic, the cars. Your kids go to preschools, you have stairs, but there's no cars go around the stairs. And there's no trucks around the stairs, the previous preschool. That's super important to consider. And another thing is, especially for the map, just show up here just now, I don't think you did a really good research about that lot, especially for that drop-off parking place. You know, there's a garage door, the rolling garage door on the San Francisco Avenue side. The cars come in and out, especially during the, like when people go to the office, they go to work, they have to go through the door. But you have the dropout spot over there, and the kids, they just go through to the preschool. You see how dangerous it is. So have you ever think about that? I think that is super important. The kids are really small. You have 30, maybe like 36 of them. They go there like every day. If I'm a parent, I would be really scared of that. I will think about it every day, about it, especially it's not my opinion, but I feel like it's people who drive trucks, who drive vans, they not pay attention to, especially to the people around, to the other cars. I live in this area for 3 years. Every year, I heard about there's like road rage just around that crossroads many times. That's one thing. I think that is crucial. That is critical, especially for the safety of the kids. I'm not saying something about like our residents. The other thing is we all know about how the infrastructure looks like just for that crossroads, for the streets around the building. Rainy days, December. I remember it's 2 years ago. We have a really muddy and also flooding infrastructure situations around that street. It takes about a month to maybe that is fixed, but no one knows. It's that area. If they happen again, I don't know how you can pick up and drop off your kids around that location. So in summary, I don't want to say like I don't oppose Natalie's like preschool in Brisbane, but it's not this location. It's just not this location. Thanks, everyone.
We go to Mr. Frisk if he's still on.
All right, James, you may speak.
Hello. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Hi, my name is JJ Frisk. Sorry, my dog's barking. Let me go to a room where it's a little bit quieter. Yeah, my name's JJ Frisk. I have 2 children in Brisbane. One of them is currently a student at Miss Natalie's school. And And just to piggyback off of what all the other parents said, I can't speak highly enough of how great Miss Natalie's school is. And I guess what I'd like to say is just to address the Planning Commission directly, very simply, when you balance what that space has been for the last 16 years, which is nothing, literally nothing. And I understand that as a planning commissioner and being the commission itself has to balance everything between the needs of the community, and they get pulled in different directions and, you know, so on and so forth. But when you go between literally nothing for 16 years, an empty concrete space and a beautiful preschool full of children that are literally, you know, the embodiment of hope and, you know, the great things that can come in the future. When it's between that, it's really a no-brainer. I really just hope that this preschool gets approved, because I think it would be a beautiful thing for the town. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think it would it'd be a great thing.
Thank you. Question for the staff. Somebody has already come and spoke to the commission.
It's just a quick rebuttal to something.
Well, is that
That's
allowed?
totally up to the discretion of the chair and the commission.
Because if that happens, then that could occur
That's
with others.
part of your decision-making. It's your call to make. Before you consider that, though, we do have other comments that have come
we
in
have one
via,
other comment.
via text as well.
I'm sorry?
Via text, which is one of the
there's-
means. So Ken could read those into the record whenever it's convenient for
Can
you.
can we do that first, please? Thank you.
Sure. They're kind of different means, so as I transition from one to the next, bear with me here. So the first one, Lucy Lee, says, Stephen, my son started at City Montessori 2 years ago and graduated last June. He has learned and grown so much, becoming confident and respectful. I cannot express enough how valuable this education has been for him, and wish others could have the same opportunity. And I think there was a follow-up to that, and I'll come back to that as well. Actually, I think is this the same person? Same person follow-up. I really believe that Miss Natalie will effectively address concerns about noise, parking, and the safety of the children. Another text that came in without a name, but just the last 4 of the text number was 8898. I love it, make it happen. And bear with me here. Yeah. Aaron Huang, I believe it's pronounced, says, we had the privilege of sending our son, to Miss Natalie's school for 2 years, and it's been incredible to watch how much he has blossomed under her care. She pours so much love and dedication into each of her students, and her positive impact is evident in all of their growth. Miss Natalie is not only an exceptional teacher, but also a remarkable person. She is a cherished part of our community, and we feel truly blessed to have the opportunity to entrust our son to her school. And another with a phone number ending 3748. My son, Shale, has thrived at Star City for the past year, and we built a strong sense of community. We should let the safety concerns for the children be decided by the parents and not by others with vested interest. We trust Miss Natalie fully to take care of them in any environment, busy or otherwise. And I think that's it. That's all for now.
Thank you. I'll allow a 30-second, rebuttal to, or comments?
So it's actually in regards to the comment about the empty space. That's not within our control. This is the first time a proposal's been brought to us for that space. It's owned by the commercial unit owner. I will also tell you, he had it filled with storage garbage for over 15 of the 16 last years, which we brought to the attention many times to Brisbane, but unfortunately blocked the windows so you couldn't see inside. So I want it to be known that we as owners have not prevented other things being put into that space. That was up to the commercial unit owner and what he did and how he utilized the space. That's it.
Thank you. And then Ms. Tsai?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Tsai. I am still a mother of twins who attended Star Montessori. I think we already know from all the parents and all the comments so far the magic of Star City, so I'm going to skip that part. And I'm also going to skip Natalie and how wonderful she is, because there's another person within this partnership that we haven't really mentioned, which is the very big man himself, Mr. Junior. I don't know if you know, but Junior, as I've known him, has family in this community for many years and many generations. And I think these two are like the most amazing partner because they don't do anything. I don't know if I can use this word, ASS, but anyways, they don't do anything half. These two are the most thought out, dedicated, totally due diligent business people. Aside from, I know when we look at Natalie, she's like, oh, so fuzzy and warm, and you just want to hug her. But the brain behind this is like she has thought through every part of why this business will be successful. And it will be. It will not only bring the joy of kids to this community, but it will bring money to this community. And it will bring business to this community. I hope that you have kids and that you would be fortunate enough to be able to attend Star City, because as you can see, there is a wait list to 2027? How many years is that already? Which school, have that kind of parents who want to, these people might not even have birthed their kids yet, are wanting to be here. So I think that just speaks to the value of the amazingness of this school. I don't know what else to say. I think you already felt the love from it, but I think when we look at it from a business perspective, and we've talked about the idea of foundations and family. Oh, I'm also a teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years, so I'm coming from a perspective of like, that for me to be wow by what she does it's already spoken about by many parents, but I think we also need to talk about how these two really do thought through the process and will be able to hire the people to make it happen. And I think whatever mindset that you have, that set mindset of like, oh, loud, rowdy, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, I think you probably need to have a little bit of a flexible mindset to think otherwise, because not all preschool are alike. And I think we need to be flexible with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, Mikey.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. My screen name probably comes up as Mikey. My name is Rachel. Good evening, everybody. By profession, I am also an early childhood educator, specifically in special education for the past 20 years, and I strongly support local business and high-quality community programs that meet the needs of working families. For 17 years, I've been an educator at Brisbane Elementary School. I have full confidence in the education and passion of the applicant. However, I would say that moving from a program of 12 to 36 is a significant expansion for scheduling and programming considerations. With that being said, how is increased noise not a concern? The movement and management of 36 young children is by nature boisterous. With regard to these comments, I live above this unit, directly above where the classroom is, as imaged on the proposed floor plan. In fact, I'm sitting here participating in this Zoom call directly above where the classroom is being proposed. I would ask that, if approved, remodeling include considerations for soundproofing. I moved to Brisbane from San Francisco 4 years ago to be within walking distance to my work at the elementary school, as well as to escape some very noisy neighbors at that time. As stated by a previous commenter, the location of the loading zone is away from the corner intersection, which is important. However, will have to cross in front of the on San Francisco Avenue, which is frequently used during peak commute hours by residents, which are the hours for student drop-off and pickup. This is a serious safety concern that needs further examination. Furthermore, because of the recently added no right turn onto San Francisco Avenue from San Bruno Avenue coming downhill, people will inevitably make traffic moves that are unsafe. I've already seen this, the U-turns in the post office or U-turns in the actual intersection to access where the proposed loading zone is. Double parking and blockage of the garage door will happen. I won't, repeat what my fellow residents have already brought up with concerns about the parking, garbage collection, building liability and insurance, and the impact on HOA dues and whatnot, as well as the flooding, drainage, and noise at the park. Those have been, I think, well addressed. I guess in conclusion, this is the first time I have participated in a planning commission meeting. But, just trying to think and brainstorming how we support business in Brisbane, which is critical, as well as early childhood programs. That's my profession. Was any consideration given by the applicant or the city of Brisbane to the vacant Bank of America building in the shopping center that has assigned parking, has proximity to the city park, and has potential for the addition of outdoor play equipment that could be fenced on that site? As an early childhood educator, it's my strong opinion that having access to gross motor equipment is essential for child development. Thank you for listening to my comments and concerns, and I wish everybody a good evening. Thanks.
Thank you.
Through the chair, there are 3 more texts that came in.
Okay.
Okay. The first, this is Richard Chu, the property manager of the space. We need this space to be used. It's been vacant too long. It was not easy to find a tenant due to some restrictions. Any commercial use will have effects on the upper residential units. The next one from Brian. As a parent of 2 kids that are part of the Star City Montessori School, I support this expansion. More kids would and should benefit from this amazing school. Next one is Ranjani Gupta, if I say that name correctly. A little longer here. I'm both a proud parent of a Star City Montessori student, Siobhan, and the president of Mothers of Brisbane, to express my enthusiastic support for Star City's Montessori's proposed relocation and expansion. Star City Montessori has been a beacon of excellence in education for our Brisbane community. The school's dedication to nurturing creativity, independence, and a lifelong passion for learning has had a profound impact on the students. The individualized and child-centered approach that Star City Montessori champions is evident in every aspect of its operation and has truly transformed the educational experience for our students. The planned move to a new location near Brisbane Community Park represents a wonderful opportunity for both the school and our community. This new space will not only accommodate more students, but also enhance the educational experience with improved learning environments. The proximity to Brisbane's downtown area will increase the school's visibility and accessibility, making it easier for more families to benefit from its unique educational model. I have seen firsthand the positive influence of Natalie and the entire Star City Montessori team. Their commitment to our children's growth and well-being is unmatched, and the opportunity to expand will allow even more families to experience the exceptional education Star City Montessori offers. I respectfully urge you to support Star City Montessori's relocation and expansion plans. This initiative will ensure that our children continue to receive a top-notch education while strengthening our community as a whole. Thank you for your time and consideration. And I got another as I was reading the last one. This one's shorter. Hello, I support Star City Montessori expansion in Brisbane. It has been a great school for my kids. And that one, for the record, phone number ending 3571.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come and address any comments and or entertain any questions from the commission?
Hello. I appreciate all your concerns for everything you guys have mentioned. So there are some areas that I would like to answer. So for the soundproofing, that's our top priority. So once we begin to remodel, we will implement a soundproofing ceiling that will definitely avoid or absorb all the acoustics to avoid any sounds traveling through the ceiling upstairs unit. A response to the comment area. I know it was brought up that the children will be using the upstairs, going through the elevators. That is not true. The children will not be accessing any common area in the building. That will be completely blocked off. The children will only have access into the building using the two entrances. And in fact, there won't be any children running off on the streets, making chaos. So as part of the remodeling, we will be adding pony walls as well. So there will be a double door. So that way the children are not easily, able to just go off and run out of the streets. So that will be extremely monitored as well. There will be also low visibility in the classroom. So it will be an open layout, but there will be also shelves dividing the area. So that way the children are also, placed in certain areas of the classroom. So it's not an all open area where the children are just running around, opening doors or whatnot. So it will be minimized with low visibility shelves as well. And also a response to when the children walk to the park, there will be 3 groups of 12 children going to the park at a time. So there won't be 36 students all at once crossing the crosswalk. There will be 12 students, 3 staff. One of the staff will be using a stop sign. So there will be the cross guard to make sure they stop the traffic. And then one teacher in front, the other teacher at the end. They will be using a handle where the children will be walking carefully to and from. With the cones designated on the grass area, the children will make sure that they are staying in place. And with 12 students and 3 staff, that is definitely manageable. A question to the insurance HOA. The facility will have its own insurance and liability insurance. So we would add the building as an additional insurer as well. So we won't be interfering with any HOA policy that they have. In regards to the trash, so like they mentioned, Richard, the landlord of the building, they had some type of exchange with the manager of the building. So the 2 facilities on the bottom, they have their empty area where they would initially have their trash bins in there. But because the units wanted to place a recycling bin in there, so in exchange that the facilities downstairs would use their trash bin. So I know there was a concern that how much garbage would my school produce. My school would produce very minimal garbage just because we don't make meals for the children. So most of the garbage would be mainly composed of paper towels, washing hands, because the parents do bring their child's lunch. Let me see. In also regarding to the shade, children wear sun hats. That's just like any party at the park. When it's sunny, extreme weather. If it's extremely hot, we would keep the kids inside. But if it's just a normal sunny day at Brisbane, the children would be required to wear their sun hats, just like any children at the park. And yeah, so I think, and during the, also responding to the drop off and pickup, there will be 2 teachers monitoring the drop off and pickup, and they will be holding the child's hand, making sure that they walked into the facility before they go ahead and escort another 2 children. Is there anything else that wanted to get addressed that maybe wasn't addressed?
I had a question. Like currently, like at your facility now, how many of your students are, walked in versus dropped off by car?
Yeah, so I would say majority of my families do walk to and from the school because they do live very close. And so a few drive, and it's a very quick pickup and drop off. I do have a strong policy about that, that if the parent is going to pick up and drop off, that they do it quickly as possible within 5 minutes or less. And it's been working. Where my school is, where we live and my school, it doesn't cause any congestion or anything. It's a very quick. I have my 2 carports available for my parents, and so they come in by 2 cars, and they drop off very quickly. They go in, and then another 2 parents come in, and because it's 12 children, it's an ongoing. It's not like a congestion of 12 students coming in all at once. It's between 8 and 9. It's a nice flow. So, and because a lot of my families do walk, that wouldn't impact as well.
And currently, the majority of your students are Brisbane residents?
Yes, they're Brisbane families, yeah.
Would you project, with your full 36, that the majority of them remain, Brisbane residents? And it's probably hard to project like how many would be walking.
Yes, currently right now on my waiting list, majority of them are from Brisbane. And so I could just tell by so many families that have inquired into my program just alone in the last month are from Brisbane. And I've had to unfortunately turn down because I don't have any space. And so a lot of them, I do foresee them being from Brisbane.
Commissioners?
Can you expound a little bit more on how you're going to do the soundproofing?
Sure. So with the soundproof, I've done some research, and so I'm looking into dropping the ceiling down, and then adding the material that's needed to support the acoustic sounds. And again, I would have to, get in contact with an architect, which we are working with one right now. So I would get in contact with my architect just to make sure that all that will be taken in place before operating the school.
I had 2 things going through my mind throughout the whole presentation. When there were concerns being raised about the location, it's going through my mind, well, where else could you put it in Brisbane? And I was racking my brain. I couldn't think of anything until I think it was Mikey mentioned the Bank of America building. And I have to say my instinctive reaction to that is it's not a better place. I guess you do have access to the park, but I don't think the location that much closer to Bayshore would be better. But to the general question, are there any other locations in Brisbane? What would it take to assess them? I'm sure you went through this exercise.
Yes.
That's one question.
Yes.
And the other is, I don't think it's really the commission's concern, but the park is just an open, grassy area. I don't know. Is that like appealing from a Montessori point of view? Like I imagine a little area demarcated by cones.
Yes.
You know,
So
but maybe you've had plans to make it more stimulating, or you know.
yes, with my experience in education, I already envision what I plan to do with that open space. It's not like I'm just going to have 12 students sitting down doing nothing. So there will be a cart, wheeled out, and also there will be placed a lot of gross motor activities, a lot of jumping, dancing. So we would bring music, hula hoops, jump rope, just a lot of different materials for the children to engage in. They're not just going to just run around on the grass area. There will also be designated cones. So I know somebody mentioned about the 75 square feet per student. Now, because it's 12 students, it's not like I'm bringing 36 students and I have to measure 75 square feet around the whole perimeter of the grass. Because it's 12 students, we would equally measure that to make sure that when licensing does come and they do, when they come out and check for making sure that I'm meeting the needs of my requirements for licensing, that will be met with my analyst as well. So if it gets approved by the analyst, that means it's safe for the children.
Then your assessment of other potential locations.
Yes, so I've been looking into this. So when I opened my preschool in 2019, within a year, 2 years, I've started receiving a lot of people interested in my preschool. And that really prompted me to just look to see what locations would have adequate space for a preschool in Brisbane. I really, truly fell in love with my community in Brisbane and all the families I serve. And I did find a couple, locations outside of Brisbane, but I just felt that I would be losing all of my wonderful families that I have a really, deep relationship with. Our school is very personalized. It's not just like a typical preschool where you just say hi and bye to the parents, and sometimes they don't really know your name because there's so many different staff coming in and out. Our school really knows everyone by name, and not only that, our children have play dates together outside, and it feels like I'm not just a director, but we're actually a community. And so I really wanted to keep that close-knit community in Brisbane, and I just knew that this would be an asset to the community. And leaving my students, leaving my parents, it would just be heartbroken, and so I couldn't do that. So I just kept looking and looking, and finally this place came up. And I just thought, this is it. This is the only opportunity that I could grow my preschool. I've looked everywhere. I've spoken to realtors in Brisbane, and there was just no location close enough to the park or with outdoor space that would appeal to a preschool.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Through the chair, we have 3 more texts that have come in.
Okay, thank you.
First one is ending phone number 7499 for the record. Our son has been at Star City for a year and is starting his 2nd year there. He has thrived at the school, and Natalie has worked with us through some behavioral issues. I strongly support the expansion of the school, and I trust that Natalie and Junior have thoroughly thought through all the considerations that have been brought up tonight. Next one is, hello, this is Matt. I am a resident of 1 San Bruno Ave. My comment on the proposed preschool is a concern regarding the building architecture. There is not sufficient separation between the commercial and residential units. The project plan does not address how security and safety can be maintained. I would like to see more design review regarding this. I support the idea of the preschool, but in this building's current state, I believe another location would be better. And then Elizabeth Rodriguez. I support Star City Montessori. The location and noise may be a concern to some, but Mrs. Natalie is a phenomenal educator and person, and part of her dream is not to just provide an amazing school, but to provide an amazing school that is safe. The children's safety is always top priority. Natalie's love and passion for education comes naturally, and the city of Brisbane would be so lucky for an expansion.
Okay, thank you. With that, and no other further comments, I'm going to ask a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes with 3 ayes. And we can begin our deliberations. Commissioner Giddy?
Can I begin with maybe asking a couple questions of staff that would be relevant to our deliberations? One is we up here have to balance the severe need for preschool education in the city and county with the interests of people who bought a place in this building. What sort of, just technically, functionally, what sort of conditions are feasible to impose regarding noise proofing as well as possible of the building? Would that be part of a design review or a building permit review?
That could be a condition that you include in the conditions of approval, and I'd suggest that would be part of the building permit review, is for to provide soundproofing through a drop ceiling, as she's already indicated she's prepared to do.
And the other question I had is it does seem like the access, I don't know the building well enough to describe the area properly, but to limit access or prevent access to the residential common areas and ingress areas seems, to me, a very reasonable issue that needs to be part of the conditions. Those are my two primary comments. We can bat it around some more, but I'll yield.
Do we need, those conditions, would they need to be, listed? Or if the applicant has already indicated, that that would all be addressed? Or
I think it would be more appropriate to have them be actual express conditions in the permit.
Okay.
Because then if they aren't done, then there's recourse.
Okay. Commissioner Fenn?
I don't really have any additional questions. I thought it was very helpful to hear the concerns as well as the, the support from the parents who have their kids there. And I appreciate the applicants coming back and addressing them. So I feel like in my mind, everything has been addressed. So I'm happy to give my perspective, I guess, if that's where commissioners are. So I come to the question of the schools in the community mainly from the perspective of someone who moved here because it was a family-friendly town. So you bring your kids to schools. Our kids went to BES Silver Spot, actually, as well, and Lippman. And now that they're all grown and they've left the town, I actually feel kind of a continued obligation to support my original reason for moving here. So I didn't move here for quiet. I moved here for that reason. So, but I'm very aware of that bias. So, and it's very easy to buy into it because of the overwhelming support that we all saw here tonight. So, I actually thought it was important for me as, sitting here to pay special attention to the concerns that were raised. And I think, so primarily to the issue of noise. I understand that. And to me, it kind of comes with the reality of moving to a community and having the conditions around you change. So when I moved here 20 years ago, there was a tiny shack next door to us, and we could give our chickens free run of it. There was a much more permissive atmosphere. There were no fences. Now there's a gigantic house next to us with windows that look directly into our backyard. My attitude to changes like that is I am not entitled really to object to any legitimate use of property around me. That's my feeling. And I'm thinking about it and thinking from the perspective of the people who live there, I kind of feel if this is an entitled use of the space underneath you, and especially also with respect to potential noise in the park, I feel it is a park, and as a resident, I'm not a big fan of the Friday night concerts either, and I can hear them all the way up on Sierra Point Road. But similar to the houses going up next to me, I just don't feel that these legitimate uses of public spaces are anything that I'm entitled to say anything about. You know, it's just the way it is. I think, especially with the commitment that we heard from Natalie, that that she'll make every effort to mitigate noise, and maybe there'll be an additional condition attached. I don't know if that can be done formally. I think the public comment period is closed. So that is my sort of, that's how I, in my mind, trying to put myself in the place of the people who spoke against it, address some of those issues. With respect to safety for the kids, I appreciate the concern, but I think that assessment really is best left to the parents who choose to enroll their kids in the school. They are obviously going to be more sensitive to any danger, potential danger to the kids than anyone who doesn't. And anyone who does have those concerns shouldn't and won't send their kids there. I guess that's how I look at that issue. And then the other main issues remaining for me, which I thought were very legitimate, were the issues, I think it was Doug or one of the residents raised, about HOA fees and any things that change like that, and garbage. I think, in my mind, those are the remaining issues that it would be unfair if the school went in and you were impacted in this way. If suddenly your insurance fees went up, then basically you're being asked to do something that you didn't sign up for, and that would not be right. I think I've also been assured on those two fronts. Natalie says she has insurance, and I think you would be within your rights to come back and be upset if that did change, and you did have an impact that you did not sign up for. I think that's perfectly fair. And I think same thing with things like garbage. If you experience a burden from garbage because it's not taken care of and promises were not kept, I think you would be within your rights to complain. But from what I heard here tonight, I think that was addressed. I do think Brisbane is better served with a school there. I think it's more in the character of the town than to have it sit vacant. From my perspective, I just think it's better to have for the life. I think what did someone mention? I think for the life and health of the community, I think it's for my sense, I think it's a good thing. Traffic, I appreciated those concerns being brought up. I can't imagine that this is a high traffic area compared to other dense urban areas where there's schools. I see kids in San Francisco all the time walking just the way Natalie described in a link, and if it can be managed safely in a dense urban environment like San Francisco, I'm pretty confident that Brisbane can manage it too. So I think that's all the thoughts that went through my mind as I listened to all the comments. And again, my main feeling was there was obviously generally a positive attitude here tonight, but I wanted to make sure that I put myself in the place of the current residents and also ask myself seriously the question, would I want a school if would I be okay with that if I lived downstairs? And I think under the conditions and the comments that we heard from the applicant, and given my reasons for having moved here originally, I think my answer would be yes. So I'm inclined to support it.
I had a couple more questions or comments. I guess it's for staff. I heard some comment about that commercial space not being separately water metered, which sounds like something that would need to be resolved by the applicant probably before issuance of a building permit, I suppose. But any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that could be also a condition of approval, just to assure that happens, but I
mean, it
would
sounds-
think they would want.
I can't imagine
that
them trying to
separation.
force the water bill on the other residents. I'm not
Right.
saying that's going to be the case, but as a technical matter, I think it should probably be a condition of approval in the permit. And lastly, the garbage, I don't remember reading that in the staff materials, whether there was any provision for waste disposal separate from the rest of the building or not.
There's a single room for garbage collection and adjacent to the garage, and was designed, intended for the whole of the building, not just residential uses.
Thank you both for your comments, very insightful, and thank you and for all the comments, from tonight. Well, I've been a Brisbane resident for 24 years, and raised my family here, and the reason why I came here initially when I was single was actually because of the family-oriented, atmosphere, and that's what really drew me, and is what has kept me here. And I remember when we were looking for daycare, and we work in the city, and couldn't find any daycare here because wouldn't be able to leave work and pick up my kids, and so my daycare was in the city on Balboa, which is a very busy street, and for drop-offs, and probably not as safe as being dropped off on San Francisco Avenue. But my concern for I have concerns for the residents that live there, and they're all very valid. But I think if any business came into to that residence, you'd be having the same concerns, or very similar. And but overall, my other concern was about the traffic and about the safety, of the kids. But I believe that the applicant is, that's her primary concern, is the safety of the children. So I think she's addressed that, and I would be in favor, of passing this, probably with some of those conditions that you had mentioned, just so that it wouldn't impact the residents and or mitigate them as much as possible.
So maybe I can try to list them with some degree of confidence. Sorry. I'm going to try to list some conditions that I would suggest be added to the pending proposal, which is one that's noise proofing or soundproofing be included as a requirement to be addressed during the building permit review. Secondly, that the water metering issue be specifically addressed by the applicant during, I guess, the same point in the process, I would imagine. Next, that a condition be added that the applicant provide in some manner acceptable to staff to prevent access to the residential common area by anyone that's not a resident. Anything else? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
And subject to those modifications, I guess I would move for approval of the pending application.
Is that our motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that motion passed. Oh, sorry. The motion passes with 3 ayes.
The appeal process.
Anyone may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council. Except where specified otherwise, appeals shall be filed with the city clerk not later than 15 calendar days following the Planning Commission's decision. Exceptions to the 15-day filing period include the following. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk within 6 calendar days of the Planning Commission's action for use permits and variances, and 10 calendar days for tentative maps and advertising sign applications. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. For additional information, please contact the city clerk at 415-508-2110. Right. Okay, thank you. Staff, are there any other items?
Just a reminder, Day in the Park is October 5th. The Planning Department will have a booth, and if any planning commissioners are interested in stopping by or spending some time down there, we'll contact you. It's not a requirement, but if it's something you're interested in doing, we're glad to have you there. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any items?
Not for me, thank you.
All right. Otherwise, then, I think we can adjourn the meeting until our next regular meeting, which is scheduled for the 26th, September 26th, 2024. All right, thank you.
Thank you. You're gonna use your hammer?